Sonic the Hedgehog and Amy Rose. Gaming's power couple that aren't really a couple in-universe, but anyone that can read into subtext would tell you that they're together in some capacity. Or are they? Some hate the pairing, others adore it. Either way, the whole thing is complicated. The two Hedgehogs' relationship is one that dates back all the way to 1993 with the release of Sonic CD, where the titular blue hedgehog meets and subsequently saves his pink counterpart from Dr. Robotnik's dastardly plan. From that point on, Amy would become a mainstay in the series, and even a core member of the world-renowned and accurately named Team Sonic. In almost every game that Sonic and Amy share scenes in, there's a hint of cat and mouse at play. Our femme lead will brazenly exclaim that she's been waiting for the hero to sweep her off her feet and have the two of them ride off into the sunset together, while the coy male lead will brush off his partner's advances, yet still make a modest remark here and there to indulge in the playful banter. Being as wide-eyed as she is about the world, Amy Rose is a character that wears her heart on the sleeve and gives whatever she does her fullest effort, a trait that she's possessed even before meeting her fated Knight of the Wind. Boldly so, this hedgehog is a go-getter, just like Sonic, but initially lacked what was needed to truly understand what it meant to be a hero, and that is exactly what many of Amy's early adventures in this series is about. If the only aspect of her character missing was, ironically enough, understanding that the world itself is a bit harsher than the reality our girl found herself in, then once she acquired that and became the total package, what's stopping Sonic from full-on pursuit? Well, this is a guy whose powers aren't the only thing enigmatic about him. The blue blur is always in a constant fight for survival of the things he cares about most: freedom, righteousness, and the will to run as fast as he wants, wherever he wants, at a moment's notice with nothing but the friction of the wind holding him back. Besides, what right does a champion of nature have to not answer the call of the wild because of a few personal attachments? Sonic and Amy's relationship as it stands is one that very quickly became built on the foundation of trust and knowledge that the other party will make the right calls when push comes to shove, and this is shown as early as Sonic Adventure 1. During the events of the Egg Carrier, after Amy has been kidnapped and subsequently freed, Sonic engages in battle with E-102 Gamma. The pink heroine steps in to halt Sonic's assault and reassures him that the robot is no longer a threat, and in fact helped her escape captivity. Shortly after taking a moment to think about it, Sonic accepts that this is Amy's final decision on the matter and decides to respect it, subtly acknowledging that she's grown from whatever interactions she's had recently. Admittedly, his fast turnaround could be argued that this is because Sonic had a greater issue to tackle, with Eggman escaping shortly before the incident with Gamma happened, but I'd like to argue that if that were the case, why would he not just leave the robot to Tails, who was also in the immediate area? Sure, you face the robot in Tails' story, but we're unsure as players if this was in fact a tag team effort or just an implementation of how the event would play out in the Fox's story, mainly because Sonic takes a back seat for some reason. Plus, look at the differences between the scene with Sonic at the helm versus Tails.
Aside, Amy! Out of my way!
No! This robot is my friend! He helped me! Don't hurt him!
Okay, whatever you say. You must have your reasons.
Move aside, Amy! Get out of the way! No! This robot is my friend! He helped me! Don't hurt him! Okay, if you say so, you have your reasons, I guess.
Although the rest of the dialogue is similar for the most part, the camera work emphasizing their eye contact with one another, character distance, and in the beginning, tone and verbiage are completely different. Amy is sterner when Sonic is on screen versus Tails, with her and Sonic being ever so much closer to one another in his interpretation of the events, something typically reserved for people who are closer to one another than not. Outside of this one specific interaction with these two, there are several others that we could go into, but I want to fast forward to Sonic Frontiers and even tackle a bit of IDW. a gaming comic run that has a fanbase quite divided on Amy's convictions when it comes to her and Sonic's intimacy. Saying that the Rose of Team Sonic acts outside of her norm has never sat right with me. Quickly interjecting, this is not me acting as a defender of specific writers, namely Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley, since I've always viewed each and every instance of these characters appearing as, oh, I guess X amount of time has passed. And what does this mean from my perspective exactly? Whereas Amy was quote-unquote more childish back in the early games, it only makes sense to me that a game like Frontiers, which takes place further down the timeline, would have more emotionally and morally intelligent versions of these characters be present. But circling back to the media though, our heroine is shown to be much less Sonic crazy, and has solidified her resolve to move forward with goals that make the planet she inhabits a much better place. In Frontiers, it has to do with re-establishing that the world definitely needs more love in it, and she takes it upon herself to make that the MO for the time being. When it comes to IDW, similar character beats are taken, and although Amy still enjoys the company Sonic provides, even implicitly stating that it's one of her favorite things ever, the girl still knows that work needs to be done. In issue number 2, Amy rejects the Blue Blur's proposal to come with him to investigate the neighboring towns, although the decision is one that didn't come too easily to her. A notion that Sonic, and even readers honestly, were taken aback by. But there is one question that arises for me when I see his reaction though. Why would he, the one person that always champions people choosing their own path, be shocked? This little blue guy right here, he's what we call a static character. Someone that undergoes little to no significant changes throughout his story. And this is okay. Sonic the Hedgehog is an entity that everyone in his universe is bound to come across at one point or another and have their foundations evolved. He is built from the ground up to be an unwavering titan in the face of adversity, but a misconstrued that I see quite often is fans believing that he's not allowed to display any sense of worry, self-doubt, or the like because of the aforementioned fact. Simply because one is often tasked with a great sense of responsibility does not mean that they themselves are averse to the effects of being human. Seeing someone he's known for so long actively making a decision to step outside of their usual tendencies has to be something so comforting, yet terrifying in that same exact breath, because it's outside of what he himself has seen them do since meeting. Take that into account, coupled with the fact that it's one of the folks closest to him, feasibly the same one that knows him better than he knows himself, and you can bet that there'd be more than a bit of surprise on his end. When the chase ends, what is left outside of the memories? With the end of Frontiers signifying the most current and up-to-date iteration of the lore, Sonic the Hedgehog and Amy find themselves further apart. Not than they've ever been before physically, but emotionally. Although the heart never forgets, the body will long for what's lost. Which brings us back to the images that sparked this video idea in the first place. Sonic, somber, washing clothes while the rain batters itself against the window pane, some boots that were gifted by a certain someone, and an ever so normal umbrella that's a blink and you'll miss it moment. And Amy, jubilous, basking in the newly awakened sunlight, admiring a flower that persevered through the storm, and an umbrella that looks strikingly familiar. It's stated that certain pieces of the Sonic Channel art are indeed canon, and if we're to follow releases, the Amy photo from 2021 and this Sonic photo from 2022 somewhat coincide with one another, lending themselves to the timeline of events that led to the most recent 2025 release of the Blue Blur at the laundromat. Several subtleties like this have been popping up more frequently, dating back to Sonic Boom of all things, but is there any merit to these? Sonic becoming more receptive to open acts of affection and intimacy from Amy are being thrown in left and right, softly alluding to a change of heart from the man himself. There are conversations throughout the game and elongated hand placement at the end of Frontiers. IDW Comics presenting us with an abundance of mutual flirtatious moments and contact. The aforementioned Sonic Channel artwork containing Easter eggs of gifts and subtext that prompts investigative thoughts and conceptions. However, was this one of those times that the blue guy was too slow to the punch, realizing that he should have slowed down much sooner but the opportunity has finally expired? A question that may get answered sooner rather than later, all dependent on forces outside of their control unfortunately, but only time will tell. Sonic and Amy, what do you think their fate together is? The power couple forever trapped by a game of cat and mouse? Or perhaps destined to break through it all and come out on top eventually? For me, with everything I've experienced them go through growing up, it'd be nice to see their time together finally be canonized and paid its respects, but with the Sonic franchise's shown in anime DNA, it'd be a bit difficult. There are many a pairing that fans would love to see the Speed Demon with. Blaze, Rouge, Surge, and even some old school fans vying for a true Sally return to form. But in a series like this, rarely do we get hardcore confirmations and settlements. You know what does get settled though? How exactly Shadow the Hedgehog, despite his flawed design as a weapon of war, came out to be the most human Sonic character of all time.